All right, in our co-main event, my dude Renato Moicano saving the day to take on Rafael Dos Anjos in a 160-pound catchweight bout. And, I think Renato Moicano is trying to find his way through that lightweight division as quickly as possible. To take a fight like this on short notice, there's probably immense respect for Rafael Dos Anjos given, Renato's background and things like that. But this fight really is a great opportunity for him to kind of pick up where he left off as a featherweight, was really getting to the title contenders and just losing those fights. And I think now we're at a point where he gets to take on an ex-champion at 155. And are there areas that you want to worry for a guy like Renato in this fight? 100%. I think that Dos Anjos' ability to use his boxing, his leg kicks to really set up takedowns and clinch work, he really is a dogfight in the making. And he's really willing to push forward, take a lot of pressure. But the fight that always stands out for me with Rafael Dos Anjos is the Eddie Alvarez title fight. When you look at guys who are willing to take a punch, have great combos and accuracy, and obviously some good power, they actually negate that forward pressure by Rafael Dos Anjos pretty well. You look at some of the combos that Eddie Alvarez threw, it's almost like you'd expect Rafael Dos Anjos to try and back up a little bit, because there were moments where you could just see Alvarez was getting very accurate. The combos were there. And to be honest, Eddie's willing to take a big shot to give a couple. And I think that's where they're kind of seeing the kryptonite a bit for Dos Anjos. I think those firefights where he's getting into those big boxing brawls with some of these guys that just might be a step ahead when it comes to the head movement, the creativity, because I think that was a newer addition to Dos Anjos' game. And that fight showed it. You think about how many shots he took and how much it took out of Alvarez to finish him and for the referee to stop it. So from a chin perspective, I think Dos Anjos has proven to be a very durable and tough guy to finish, especially when you've got combinations like that coming at you. And he was out on his feet for a lot of that round, and he just kept coming. He kept trying to stay in the fight. So those are the little things that I do actually like for him in this fight, because you talk about a Moicano who, in itself, the biggest questions for him were the chin, were that discipline, where, is he going to try and take it to the ground where he needs to, or is he going to keep trying to strike with some guys that definitely might have an upper hand in terms of power? And that's where I just want to see where Renato's game plan is kind of situated here, because my favorite part of his game is the ability to change levels and exploit a really good ground game if he needs to. But he's got good striking, he's got the volume, he's got good accuracy now, and he's got the BJJ to back it up. So if Dos Anjos is ever able to get top position on Moicano, I think the size, I do want to see these guys face off at the weigh-ins, but I think that there's going to be a good strength advantage here for Dos Anjos. I think that he's going to be able to impose his will, work through some of these punches, get that clinch game going, work it to the ground, and start looking for some ground and pound opportunities. I think that the submission game here might start to negate itself a bit. It's going to be more of the power wrestling from Dos Anjos' side, and Moicano trying to use, his BJJ to get back to his feet, maybe some submission attempts to just kind of put Dos Anjos on his back foot and force the fight back to their feet. But again, I think Renato Moicano might have some success if he's able to get top position against Dos Anjos, but that's going to take a lot of skill. That's going to take a lot of technique to keep a guy that should be relatively stronger on his back. So when you look at the keys to victory, to be quite honest, I think that there's a lot more for Rafael Dos Anjos in this fight. As much as I love Renato Moicano and I want to see him do well at 155, there's not many holes in Dos Anjos' game. And when you look at the fighters that are able to take him on, I mean, good chins, great boxers, and just really willing to get into those dirty areas. And to be quite honest, when we've seen Renato Moicano do that, he tends to actually get finished or just have a tough time coming out of those dangerous places. And that's where those deep water situations, Dos Anjos has just seen way more, especially at this weight class. And I'm really curious to see how that goes. I think that Moicano can do some real damage if he gets in close, has those elbows. I think that he can be a lot more of the damaging striker. I think that Dos Anjos is going to use a lot of his boxing to set things up. But when you look at the way, Eddie attacks the body, the way he goes up top with some big combinations, that's what I want to see from Moicano. I want to see some kicks to the body. I want to see some kicks to the legs. I want to see some combos that, he sets it up from the body, then comes back up top, uses elbows. You got to cut him. You got to make us a very dirty fight. You got to tire him out. And I think that's where you can see Moicano maybe come into his own, is if that first round gets to the point where Moicano is able to do a lot more damage and surprise a few with that, because the durability of Dos Anjos needs to take a hit for Moicano to have some success over 3 rounds. I really do believe that, because if Dos Anjos' power and ability to kind of grapple carries for all 3 rounds, it's going to put Moicano in a bad place, especially in the second and third rounds, if Dos Anjos' durability and cardio is still there. So with that said, I do think Dos Anjos deserves to be a pretty heavy favorite here. You talk about that split decision Paul Felder fight. Not really a split decision, right? That's when we last saw him and he looked great. I think -190 is a perfect guess the line for this fight. I think that Moicano deserves some credit to the point where he should not be a -300 favorite or so. But a -190 makes a lot of sense. The Anjos resume is just insane to me. And Stevens and Alvarez are the only 2 guys to really finish him on the feet. So when you think about things like that, you think about the 2 types of strikers that Jeremy and Eddie are. There's a lot to be said about Dos Anjos' durability and, just the ability to take a punch. So let's go with 190. I think that's more than fair for our boy Dos Anjos. And we've got... I think this line might actually not be out just yet. Let me try one more place to see if we can maybe get a line here. Wow, did we just nail that? Wow, Dos Anjos, -190 on the dot. That is exactly the line that he seems to be pegged at right now as an opener. Moicano's coming in as a +160 underdog. I gotta be honest, I see value at Dos Anjos -190. It's just keys to victory, right? How many more paths does Dos Anjos have to Moicano? And I really do think that Moicano's the path is very slim, but he's going to have to really work through some adversity in the early parts of that fight, create some big damage himself to see if, maybe he can create a much more opportunity that people are going to give him credit for in this fight.